Joining me now is attorney Jeremy Eldridge. Jeremy, thanks for joining us to explain all of this.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when the governor says that he wants local jurisdictions to follow the Constitution, what exactly is the governor getting at?
I think the governor's comments aren't political in nature. I really think they're reflective of the Attorney General, Anthony Brown's guidance to law enforcement about how they are allowed to interact with not only ICE, but how ICE can interact with members of the community. And a lot of that is really following the same guardrails that are in place for police officers in our own communities, sheriffs in our own communities, as to how they interact with the Fourth Amendment, which is your right to be free of governmental or unreasonable searches and seizures without a warrant, for instance. Fifth Amendment, your interactions with police, whether you give statements and how you're interviewed. That's really what he's alluding to. I just think that he wasn't able to clearly elucidate those talking points.
We've questioned the governor about this several times, though. Why do you think the governor hasn't come out and explained that clearly, saying there are various constitutional concerns like you just explained it with the Fourth and Fifth Amendment?
I think he simply should have referred everyone to the Attorney General's talking points. And I think that our governor, while an incredibly eloquent individual, isn't an attorney and isn't as well versed in some of these more complicated issues. The best way to explain this to people, and the easiest example I give people is this. If you're an undocumented person and you're in a car accident and the police come, they should deal with the car accident. And if your immigration status isn't germane, isn't necessary or relevant to that car accident, then they really shouldn't be asking you any questions about your immigration status. And that's what Anthony Brown's guidance says. However, if you're an undocumented person and you're the victim of a robbery, and maybe you're eligible to get what's called a U visa, commonly known as a victim visa, or an S visa for cooperating with law enforcement, then it is germane, in fact, to your case. And so what this guidance says is, let's stay within the boundaries of the Fifth Amendment, which is your right to counsel, when the police can ask you questions. We actually have Criminal Procedure 5104, which is a newly enacted law in 2022 that governs these police interactions with regard to ICE. So what the governor should have said is, we just want to follow the existing law. And that goes for ICE too. ICE has 48 hours to pick people up from facilities. The facilities should honor that 48-hour rule. And if ICE can't comply, then they're in violation of federal law, and maybe they need to change their own policy. So maybe not the most eloquent way to say it, but the point was, let's follow the laws that we have in place.
Well, you bring up some of the detainers, and right now there is not a blanket uniform policy across the state directing jurisdiction on how to handle ICE detainers. Do you think that makes it more confusing for everyone?
Of course it does. Uniformity statewide, county by county, 23 counties in Baltimore City, 24, would of course make it easier. But there is uniformity on how long ICE has to pick someone once a detainer is lodged, and that is 48 hours. And holding someone beyond that 48 hours would be a violation of federal law, and there could be a civil case brought in federal court suing for monetary damages for someone that is held beyond that time period. So frankly, it's not just whether you're complying with ICE, but ICE cannot expect local facilities to violate someone's constitutional rights. For instance, your Eighth Amendment right, which is to be free of cruel and unusual punishment. Well, if you're violating the 48-hour rule, frankly, that's ICE's fault, not the local detention facility. We have to be clear about whose responsibilities are whose.
All right, Jeremy, thank you for explaining all of that. Still a lot to get to in the show. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.